I wanted to start off by saying that even during the pandemic and with our children out of school for a long period of time, folks thought that bullying stopped. The reality is that we know with social media, we've seen it with some of the most egregious stories, that bullying continues online and is pervasive in many of our social media outlets. And it doesn't stop just at the childhood level or the adolescent level. The reality is it goes well on into adult years if unchecked. And it's our responsibility to make sure that as stewards that we continue to profess social and emotional learning, something that the MCPS Be Well 365 campaign and being better social stewards is something that we're trying to make sure that we instill in our children. But the reality is that they're still bad actors, unfortunately, and children who make bad decisions. And so we needed to make sure back in 2008, when I was a state delegate, that we sponsored bullying prevention legislation that allowed for us to make sure that all schools throughout the state of Maryland addressed preventing bullying, harassment, and intimidation. Still to this day, it's one of the most comprehensive bullying prevention laws in the nation. It's been updated many times with many of my colleagues who are still in Annapolis. And so I really appreciate their dedication and support. Grace's Law back in 2013 made it a misdemeanor to repeatedly bully someone via the phone or internet. And there have been so many things like restorative justice practices and trauma-informed approaches through the Kerwin Blueprint that continue these efforts to make sure that we're stomping out bullying. Project Interrupt, that's with our Montgomery County Public Schools. Another one that's a training program for staff, students, and community members to make sure they're responding to bias and hate incidents. And oh, by the way, if we don't acknowledge what we just saw happening between Einstein and Sherwood High School as a prime example of how bullying can get out of control and have absolutely deleterious effects on a student and on the greater community. And so it's important for us to make sure that we don't forget about why it's not sticks and stones any longer. We know what happens with the pervasive abuse that sometimes goes on many of these social media sites and sometimes, unfortunately, in our schools. And we've got to do a better job as parents, as community members, as teachers and administrators, and as people to make sure that we're treating each other with dignity and respect. That is something that's at the forefront, regardless of our differences. The reality is that at the end of the day, we're still all human beings. And if we treated people as such, understanding that we may have differences of opinion, I think we'd be a much better place for so many more people. So with that, I really want to turn it over to our state's attorney, who does great work at the Family Justice Center with its Stop the Bully Montgomery workshops and is doing some great things in the community and continuing to make sure that we're addressing bullying. Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you very much, Councilman Rice. First of all, I want to commend Craig for his leadership, both as a state legislator and as a county councilman, against bullying that helps promote student well-being. I know that I'm joined here today by the council president, Mr. Hucker, Councilman Katz, and Albernas, three other individuals that I know that are equally devoted to that same purpose. Preventing bullying and the pain that suicides that it sometimes causes is vital to public safety. My staff in the last 5 years has presented over 300 presentations about cyberbullying, internet safety, reaching more than 15,000 students in Montgomery County schools. Now, the majority of those students are middle school students, and we focus on middle school students because research seems to tell us that bullying peaks in those years. When I became state's attorney in 2006, the first program I started was Internet Safety Program with Montgomery County Schools that addresses this issue and all of the other related issues about misuse of the internet. Social media has made bullying even more common. When you do research and ask kids, is it easier to bully when you can do it anonymously? 81% say it is. They do things online that would not do if they were face to face with another individual. Look, now, in addition to cyberbullying, there are many risks to the internet: sexual predators, sexting, posting racist and offensive postings. Do we have to go any further than yesterday's headlines to see that not only, I think Councilman Rice alluded to this, not only does this affect our young people, we have a man who made $100 million as a head coach of an NFL football team who lost his job over this. Posting on the internet can have consequences. Also, as noted by Craig, Maryland has some of the strongest laws against bullying, stronger than most states. Sadly, the internet safety law, Grace's law that Councilman Rice referred to, came about because a young girl, 15 years old, took her own life after being bullied by other members of her high school class. It is illegal to cyberbully a minor in Maryland. I'm committed to helping students succeed, not only with our educational programs. Look, it's prevention, not prosecution. It's prevention, not prosecution. What we do with this cyberbullying program, as well as our truancy program, which I know every one of the council members that I'm speaking to today supports completely. These are important programs to help keep our kids safe and to prevent illegal activity. Look, I look forward to working with each member of the county council on these crucial issues to prevent young people from making bad decisions that will result in long-term consequences that will have effect on their educational and professional goals. Again, I want to thank Councilman Rice for inviting me here today, and I'm honored to join all the other members of the council as we have this proclamation, which I think is vitally important to the health of our community. Thank you, Councilman Rice, for inviting me.
Thank you so much, State's Attorney McCarthy. Councilmember Katz, did you have anything that you wanted to add as Chair of Public Safety, sir?
No, thank you. It certainly has been said by both of you in an extremely fine fashion. Bullying is never acceptable. It never has been acceptable. We've made it easier because of the internet, as both of you have mentioned, because of the cyberbullying, and we still have to remind each other it's our children, and in some cases, especially with in the cyber world, it's not just children who bully. It's people who are of age to be an adult, but they don't always act like an adult, and we need to make certain that we remind people that it's not acceptable. And I was told years ago that somebody who was concerned about being intimidated by a gang, and bullying sometimes can be that as well. They said, you have to understand that the people outside the gang, the gang has a finite number, but the people outside that gang are infinite in many cases. And that's who we need to be listening to, not the people who are attempting to belittle and to make themselves feel better, which really what they are doing is making themselves look worse. So anyhow, thank you all. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, for all that you do. I know that you've had programs along the way. And of course, my colleague, Councilmember Rice, I know that you, certainly among all people, all of us in Montgomery County, have worked very, very closely with all people, being young and old, to stop this foolishness. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, did you have something you wanted to add as well, sir?
Just to thank you both for your leadership on this, and the chairman as well. This is a critical issue. It's affected so many people I know personally, and we aren't where we need to be yet. So we need to keep holding events like this and keep reminding people how important this is, because I think it's something that a lot of people either aren't aware of or don't like to talk about. But it's a real threat to our young people, and I'm very glad and grateful that you're bringing it up today.
Well, thank you very much to my colleagues, and thank you, State's Attorney McCarthy. I'm going to go ahead and start the proclamation. Whereas October is recognized as National Bullying Prevention Month, when we recognize the devastating consequences of bullying, which impacts 1 in 4 children in the United States and can often result in physical, emotional, and learning impacts on those who are targets of bullying, as well as the increased risk of engaging in more serious violent behavior by those who bully. And whereas bullying is any type of physical, verbal, emotional harm or intimidation directed at an individual or a group of people that can occur anywhere, including in our neighborhoods, schools, playgrounds, workplaces, and through technology, such as the internet and our cell phones. And whereas bullying can have enduring impacts on the emotional, mental, and physical health of victims, leading to long-term academic challenges, increased anxiety and depression, difficulty maintaining friendships or relationships, and self-destructive behavior. And whereas it will take a concerted effort from all members of our community to stomp out bullying by modeling kindness and respect, by building positive climates at school and in our workplaces, advancing social and emotional learning, and nurturing humanity and empathy in all of our residents. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Council of Montgomery County, Maryland hereby recognizes the month of October as National Bullying Prevention Month, and be it further resolved that the County Council encourages students, parents, and all residents to connect, empower, and engage in activities that promote bullying awareness and prevention strategies, presented on this 12th day of October in the year 2021, signed by myself and the Council President. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, and thank you, Chair Katz.